I never intended to start my own website. Frankly, I was perfectly happy being just one of the community members, posting, trying new gear, and then talking about the new gear. So starting a forum was never really part of the plan. But when we did, and it took shape, and HeadFi just grew into what it became, at that point, you're almost along for the ride. Some of our headfires, when you go to our Can Jam events, you'll see many of them carrying multi-in-ear cases. I mean, in my bag right now, you'll probably find 4 different headphones or earphones. So yeah, I think because it's just easier to do it. There are just we're not as hampered. We're not as held back by just the physical burden of loudspeakers and giant amps to power them, and a room that we have to put them in. It was never really my intent to get into measurements. You started to see there was really an appetite, a demand from this community to have more measurement content, measurement-related content. So we got into it relatively slowly, and we bought our first measurement head. Now we've since evolved into a pretty serious audio measurement lab here. We can measure most types of headphones and certainly electronics as well. I've been listening to the DCS Lina stack. I didn't want to just dump measurements out there, but I've been talking to people at DCS about what I thought about it, what impressions about it. What about writing a review with it in the absence of even seeing a measurement, and just what did you think about the way it sounded? I would love to see more of that. That's what I loved about Stereophile, love about Stereophile, is when they have a reviewer. He has no idea how it measures. He just gives his impressions, then John does the lab work and then shows us those results. My history with DCS is actually kind of funny. It goes back, I don't even know how many years now. I'd been reading about it, the reviews of the stuff I couldn't afford as a young audiophile, and so I bought an RCAM CD player. That I think licensed ring DAC technology. That was as close as I was going to get to DCS at the time, and so I bought this RCAM CD player. And as far back as I recall with ring DAC, linearity was always one of the things, one of the performance parameters that has always kind of been boasted about. So of course you want to see how it does, and the Lina DAC in that very first test that we did with our audio precision analyzer, it did very, very well. I remember that the master clock reviews were always interesting to me, but I wasn't sure what that meant. Never put one in. So finally at Can Jam Singapore, they were doing the clock demo. So I went to go hear it. I listened to it, master clock in, master clock out, and we just kept switching because I could not believe how much better everything got. The imaging was more holographic. Everything just felt more three-dimensional. But what I really like about DCS's approach, in addition to making and focusing on the DACs, is how DCS is focusing on headphone audiophiles specifically. So one of the things, for example, that means a great deal to me is crossfeed. That the fact that on a headphone or an earphone, the left speaker only goes to the left ear, the right speaker only goes to the right ear. This is completely unnatural relative to loudspeakers. So when I see something that has crossfeed, that to me is a very thoughtful addition for a dedicated headphone audiophile. I love that the Lina stack uses the skyscraper. If you're going to get the whole stack, it uses kind of the skyscraper mentality: minimize desk real estate and go up. And it's a really imposing, cool-looking stack. So I like the fact that even just in terms of form factor, it's also built for us. Now I haven't measured the amp yet for the Lina stack, but I've had no issues driving the hardest to drive headphones I have. So I like that versatility with the gain control. You can choose 2 different gain settings. And then I've also found that it's quiet enough to use with sensitive in-ears as well. So the versatility with the Lina amp, again, is something that's more purpose-built for headfires. That's a really big deal. I think for a young audiophile, if budget's a concern, and I think for many it is, you can buy it piece by piece if you want to. I think a lot of people would start with the DAC and amp, or even if you just want DCS DAC technology in your existing setup, you can just buy the DAC. And so then what's nice is you can also buy the master clock separately. So the master clock, the DAC, which you don't need to use the master clock with, but I certainly recommend it, and the amp are all separate. But I do think it's a great step to see DCS move into this space. I mean, as someone who was buying an Arcam CD player just to get a taste of DCS when he couldn't afford DCS, this is really exciting stuff.